Hi everyone, hope you're all going well. Do you remember the other day when I was talking about souls choosing to be born and children knowing when they were going to be born? I have a couple of experiences that have happened with my own grandchildren that I'd love to share with you. A few things opened my own eyes to something I wasn't sure whether we had emotion when we are just a consciousness. But I'll get to that in a minute. I have 6 grandchildren. With some of them, I had a connection to their soul before they were born and felt their energy and sort of knew things about them before they were born, but not all of them. It didn't happen with all of them. It only happened with some of them. So with my eldest grandson, I didn't feel that he, get that strong feeling that he was going to be a boy or a girl. And I didn't get when he was going to be born. I did always, with my own children, always love the name Sam, and always had that name chosen for one of our kids, but never called any of our children Sam. But my first grandson is called Sam, so I do have a Sam in the family. Then my second grandson was born, and I didn't pick up any names for him, I just had a feeling he was going to be a boy, but it wasn't a real sure thing. So with the first 2, I didn't have that real strong prior connection. With my third, I remember coming out into the kitchen on this particular day, and I said to my family members that my son and daughter-in-law were going to have a little boy tomorrow. He will be born tomorrow, and they're going to call him Patrick. And someone in the family said, "How do you know that? Did they tell you?" And I said, "No, I actually felt the connection with Patrick. Like I felt his soul had come to visit me. Maybe he told me in a dream, maybe I was just using my instinct. But it was such a strong knowing that he was going to be born the next day and the parents were going to call him Patrick. Now, my son and daughter-in-law hadn't mentioned what they were having, and no one had mentioned any names at all, ever. So we had no idea what his name was going to be. And so the very next day, we got a phone call, and it was my son from the hospital, and he rang to say, "We've just had a little boy and we've called him Patrick." And I just knew, it was such a strong knowing. Then with my 4th grandchild, I knew she was going to be a girl. So we'd already had the 3 boys. I just knew this was going to be a girl. And I remember her mum went into labour sort of around the end of March. And I could feel from my granddaughter's energy that she wasn't going to be born then. And her mum's water broke, so she had to go into hospital. And after 2 days in hospital, nothing had happened. And I said to her, "Your daughter is not going to be born for another 2 weeks." And I remember my daughter-in-law going, "Oh no, I'm not going to hang on for another 2 weeks." But she did. And I gave a date. And I said the 9th of April. She's not coming at the end of March. She's coming on the 9th of April. And they didn't know what they were having, and they didn't know what day this baby was going to be born. But on April the 8th, at about 11:30 at night, she started going into labour again. And my son said, "You know what this means?" And my daughter-in-law said, "Yeah, we're going to have to go to the hospital." He goes, "No, Mum was right." And my granddaughter was born on the 9th of April. So, and I knew it was going to be a girl, and I knew the day that she wanted to be born. And for me, I don't feel I was predicting anything. I feel I was connecting directly to the souls of these children who were giving me the information of when they were going to be born. Then I had my 5th grandchild, which is a granddaughter. And I didn't get that with her. I didn't get that feeling of knowing what her name was going to be, knowing when she was going to be born, even knowing whether it was a boy or a girl. I think I thought it was a boy at that time. So I didn't get that with her. Then just recently when it was in hospital and I had that near-death experience, I mentioned to you that my mum came to me when I was out of my body in that consciousness state. My mum was there, but there was also a child there, and it was a little boy, and he had blonde hair, and I knew at some point in the future he was going to come into my life as my grandson, another grandson. I just knew it. It's like no one had to tell me or anything. All I did was connect with this energy of this soul, and I knew that's the role that we were going to play in each other's life in this lifetime. I knew it was going to be a boy. Then I mentioned it to my son and daughter-in-law that were the ones that were expecting a child. And I said, I'm sure I have met your child. When I had that near-death experience, I met his soul. I already know what he's going to be like. I can know what his personality is going to be like. And then for about a week, I had a dream about babies most nights. And I said to my daughter-in-law, you must be going to go into hospital soon, because it's every single night I keep seeing this little boy, and it's the same little boy that I met that night in the non-physical realms. But in this one particular dream, now this is something that I have learned that I wasn't sure about with emotions from spirit. In one particular dream, I walked into a room and my mum was there. Now, my mum had passed away 5-6 years ago. My mum was in a room playing with this little boy, the same little boy's energy that I had kept connecting with, and she was playing with him. And in the dream, I walked up to my mum and I said, you won't be able to play with him here anymore. He has to come over to where we are, to our side. And she got upset. Like I could feel an emotion of her having to say goodbye to him. Now, even though she knew that he was coming into our family and she knew that she could still stay connected energetically to him, she still felt sad. And that's something I wasn't sure whether, as a consciousness, as a spirit energy, do we feel sadness? Do we feel happiness? And she was sad that he was going to be born. And so a week after my dreams and my experience, my next grandson was born. And when I got photos sent to me from the hospital, I thought, there you are, and I already know you. I've already connected with your soul. So it's fascinating, and it's not that I don't love my other grandchildren any less because I didn't have that connection. It's just that I feel like the souls of some of my grandchildren, we have already previously had relationships in a lifetime, and the new souls that have come into the family, we are yet to form a relationship in this lifetime. So that's the only difference, is we have an unfamiliar relationships which we are forming and bonding, and then we have a familiar relationship which we are continuing to form and bond. So you might be able to understand that with some of your own children and your own grandchildren, understanding that really strong connection you have with some of them where you feel like you've known them before, or they're a new soul coming into your family where you're getting to share a different experience with different energies. So yeah, it was quite fascinating for me to see that my mum was sad that so it will be her great-grandchild, that her great-grandchild was coming and leaving her, even though a consciousness knows everything what's going to happen in that life. So yeah, I thought I would share those stories with you. Maybe you've had an experience where you've known someone's a soul that's going to be born, and you've heard the name being told to you, or you've got some details about the birth that it just you just know it. It's not like a guess, and it's not imagination. You really just know it. So thought I'd share those few stories with you, and thank you so much for listening to me again.